I hope that I am audible from everyone you. So this is Pasquale speaking, and today I will show you the new features that we are planning to release with the Workload Automation 10.1 Fixpack 1. We will go through a brief introduction, then I will let you see some of the RFEs that we have added inside the Fixpack 1, and then jump directly to the features, which will be the JWT token, the API keys, the new remote command line, and the new self-service catalog. So it's some years right now that every time we are trying to release a new fix pack, it's always just like we are release a major release because we are including really a lot of stuff inside, even those fix pack 1. So what we want to achieve with this new release is to improve the user experience, the security, the installability, and also the maintainability of all our components. So let's discover if we can achieve that. Well, we will start with the RFEs. We have two RFEs that I want to mention. Both of them are related to Windows agents, dynamic agents, of course. Let's start for the first one, which is the local system account. So what it's now possible to do with Windows agents is the chance to install it as a local system account. That means that you can decide to install the agent without providing any specific user. And the purposes of this, so what we want to achieve is to avoid any credential management. So that means that you do not have any password expiration because you have actually not linked to any specific user. So that agent will continue to schedule. You do not have to change every 6 months the password of their account. So you can get rid of your Windows team. You can do a lot of things with this feature. And it's only, of course, for Windows on dynamic agents, not for FTAs. Then we have the interactive jobs that are maybe most of you already knows that are working on FTAs. Now we can support them also on dynamic agents. How that works, it's really simple. So you can create a job that and you can flag it as interactive. If you use the workload designer, you will see that there is a flag for setting them as interactive jobs. There it's right behind the webcam that is. So then you can run the interactive job, so you can submit it and you can specify as user of that job a user of your Windows systems. And what actually happened is that the operation that you want to perform with that particular agent, so these jobs can run interactive applications. Those applications will be executed on the session of the user that you have specified inside the job definition. For example, you want to run, in the example that I have made here, you want to open a file with Visual Studio Code. So you can run the code, open this, and then set the user that actually will run that job as user 1. So once the user 1 will access to its Windows system where that Windows agent is installed, when the job will be scheduled, it will see opening on its session the code with that file that have been defined in the job definition. You can enable this feature, and of course, there is also the chance to run in background the operation. So you do not have to strictly have a user session opened for running those particular jobs. You can specify from here, there is a properties that you can set to true, that it's the run interactive jobs on invalid session. You can enable it, and then that means that all the jobs that are both interactive and batch can be run in background. So you do not need to have strictly opened a session with that username. In any case, we have talked about our fees today. If you want to submit a new one, you can reach out on this email.
There's an equivalent to IBM.
Yeah.
We have another one?
Yes.
Okay.
Because those are ideas for the IBM.
That is fine. So we will share also the other email address. So let's move to the JWT token. This is something that we want to use, especially wanting to introduce, especially for improving the cloud experience. In particular way, the communication among the agents and the server on cloud environments. The JWT token can be, of course, also used in on-premises installation, and it's a new way to establish the communication among the agents and the master. We have added this because we wanted a new way, of course, from that it's an alternative way with respect to the certificates to communicate with the server. This can let us to do not need anymore a mutual authentication, just like happens with the certificates, where the master should authenticate the certificates of the agents. The agent should be the same when there is a communication among them. In this way, that is not longer required because, as we will see later, the server will create a JWT token, it will send it to the agent, so that token is already trusted by the server, so the communication will be much more efficient. And this will, of course, reduce the overhead sides, the overhead server side on the communication.
So what level is this at? Is this the equivalent of a TLS token?
No, the problem is currently the agent and the master are trusted model. Okay, so in a real production environment, you should use a different certificate for each agent that you install in a real environment, and if
You want to do
everything done as best line guides that secure that there are. Okay, so you should authenticate each agent with its exclusive certificate, and you should enable the authentication by name inside the broker authentication.
Right.
So use all the names that you have for each the agents. Every time that you add this the certificate, you should generate pay for each agent and go on. It's very massive work to do that. I think that nobody will do.
Does anyone do it?
No.
No.
Everyone use one single certificate that share with all the network.
Yeah. The self-signed certificate that comes with the agent.
I know.
Both sides.
But if I access to one machine, I could access to all the network. I cannot segregate them. I cannot block on it. So it's a bit risky. The reason we change this is because we know that it's a massive work and it's something very huge, and it's not so friendly with the balancer, because to do a mutual authentication, you should configure some special load balancer that could allow you to do an SSL pass-through. Okay, and Nginx works. The load balancer of level 4 is don't worry. Other type of load balancer has very big problems with the solution. Okay, so we decided to remove this kind of limitation to have the SSL communication with pass-through. The benefit is that in this way, each agent is automatically trusted at the first registration with the master and will give them a single token that you can revoke every time that you want.
Okay.
So you trust an agent one by one at installation time, and after that the token that is released by the master, okay, that is to be trusted, of course, and it's easier. And the agent, the only things that should have case of gateway is the certificate of the master to trust the access of communication. Nothing else. But you can already download automatically using the same procedure. So during the installation, you will download.
No, it is done automatically.
And the unit token with the registration.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And if you think that the registration is compromised, you can
Revoke that. Yeah.
that one are restored after you're sure.
So to
Instead, the revoke the only certificate that you have to test is something that you cannot do. It's easier.
So this is an additional layer of SSL security.
Yeah.
That's
Because,
controlled centrally by the master.
Because the agent should be something very dangerous to be kept without any duty. Because can run everything.
So when you first install an agent, how does the master know that it's a valid agent? It has to have. Okay. Okay.
You know,
Read the slide.
Take that one on.
Yeah, I have also the drawing for that. So this is the scenario maybe that you want to know. Imagine that you have your server and your agent, and you want to actually install this agent communicating with that server.
Yeah.
What you have to do in order to enable the JWT token communication is just using those parameters inside the installation of the agent. So you have WA user, which is the username that it's used for the installation of the server. The WA password, which is the password used for that user, and plus enable the JWT. So JWT true. With those three parameters, you will enable actually the installation of the agent with the JWT token. What actually happened during the installation is something that David has already explained. So once you provide the credential from the agent to the master will authenticate the credential. So it will say, okay, you are enabled to communicate with me. After that, the server will generate a JWT token, sending back to the agent, and then the communication will be established among them. So once you have that, you will have a token, a JWT token that has a long-term expiration. So you do not need to worrying about rotating certificates or where are they going to expire? No, because these certificates, the JWT token, when it's created, has a long expiration. Once you don't want anymore to have the communication among that agent or the server, or imagine that you are sure that one agent has been compromised, you can, as David said, revoke the token by simply deleting the workstation definition of that agent. And after that, if you want to re-enable the communication with another JWT token, a brand new JWT token, you can just run a script from the agent to let, again, start the procedure. So connecting to the server that generates a new token.
So if we disconnect an agent to prevent it, we can actually you're saying we can recreate the JWT token at the FTA, sorry, at the agent level by a script.
Yeah, you can revoke the JWT token that has been created before by deleting the workstation definition of the agent. Okay, so once you have done that, the JWT token has been deleted. But if you want to re-enable the communication among the agent that you have revoked and that server, you don't need to reinstall a brand new agent. You can use that one, run the agent certificate download script, which is a script that we have inside our folders, with the credential of the server, of course, because you need to authenticate to the server. And then again, everything will happen. So a new token will be generated, and will be sent to the agent, and the communication will be established again.
And is the token specific to a particular master, or will it be validated on both the primary and the empty backup master if we had to do a failover?
It can be validated also for the backup master. I don't think that there is, no, the only requirement is that, of course, master and backup can talk together. Yeah.
So the data is, the token itself is held in the database.
The token is not.
It's
only the for it to the hash. There is an IWD of the token. The token has a IWD inside it, and the token is signed by the master.
Okay.
And the certificate shared between it. Okay, so there's always the same signature.
Okay.
And the token has inside the ID and the name of the agent. And the ID of the agent you put in that you have in the job manager and file. There is an ID.
Yes.
Okay. So these are the information that are sealed inside this token. And they are not changeable, it's only shared. And the master has only the UID of the token. Because the token is validated by the master.
Yeah, that means that there is no trace of the JWT token, so no one can steal it or can.
Only the agent.
But that tag is sufficient, be it the backup master or the primary
Yeah,
running.
can validate the
development.
report. Not an issue. Because the UD of the token is inside the database. Accessible. And the certificate to verify the signature is the same on both.
So in the containerized world, the ID and password are held as secrets.
Yeah.
You have to pre-populate the secrets and then.
In a separate secret, but because.
Yeah, but in any case, I think that there is a privilege that you can add as you want. And you probably could use also make a key.
For the installation, yes. But we have not discovered yet the API keys. So.
Exactly.
Too many options. It's good.
We are flexible. Not too many. We are flexible.
Well, let's see what are the API keys right now.
Yeah.
We have introduced a lot of tokens, and the API keys is basically another JWT token that it's used for enabling the communication, for enabling the authentication among our components. In particular, the API keys is actually a JWT token that can be used for authenticate single users or groups to, right now, our command lines and our REST APIs. And again, you can use also that for the installation. That means that you can generate an API key, which is a JWT token. You can use it instead of the credential of the master to authenticate with that. So it's another way for the authentication. What you can do with the API keys, as I said, you can authenticate to the CLI. That means that once you have generated this JWT token, you can use that for accessing, for example, in Composer, in Batman. So in all those command line that actually requires username and passwords. Or to the REST APIs. So there is here, we have added also the bearer authentication. So from REST APIs, you can use both the basic authentication, so user and password, or the JWT token, the API key.
Okay. Now that's good that you've got a bearer token.
Exactly.
Now in, yes.
You can define that.
Yeah, you can define the API key from the dynamic workload console, of course. From the user interface, there is the manage API key option that lets you create both the kind of API keys, so personal or service API key. The personal API key is just an API key needed for authenticate that particular user. So the user that is going to create that API key. Instead, the service is an API key that will authenticate all the group. So all the users that belongs to the group that are associated to the API keys that we have created will be authenticated with that single token. So it's one token for all the group. And of course, if someone is creating a service API key, he can only create this API key for the groups that he belongs to. So I cannot create an API keys for the administration groups if I don't belong to that group. You can monitor the API keys, even then they are stored, but you cannot access to them. You can monitor them in terms of who has used them, who has created them, when have been used, and which is the expiration status. So if they are about to expire, if they are expired or not. And then, of course, if there is something that you want to delete, you can. Before to run to the remote command line, I think that we can actually see how this works. It's really fast to see. So once you are inside your web console, you can go here. So the reason why we have set here is that despite whatever is the role that you have on your web UI, every user has the chance to manage the API keys. So what happened here is that you have the manage API key page and you can add a new API key. You can choose among personal or service. You can set the name of the API key that you want to create, and the group if it is service. Let's create a personal one, which I will create.
So manage API keys
Yes.
is under administration, is it?
No, it is under the user settings.
User settings.
User.
Okay.
Okay, I have created the key. So here is the token. I can copy it. And once I have copied it, I have to store it because this will be the only chance for me to have this token. As I said, once the token has been created, there is no trace of it anywhere. So I can only access to it here once I've created. And then if it is a service API key, I can share it with all my groups.
So you copy it to Notepad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Share it on Google. Shush.
I don't know which is. Not my responsibility.
I'm just accessing to my Docker environment. Just to let you see, I hope that you are able to see. I said you don't see anything.
It's very small.
Yes. I'm just typing composer -jwt and I'm passing the JWT just to be sure that I can be authenticated. Now I am inside composer, I can do all the operations that I want and I am authenticated. Well, you can do that with user and password.
Yeah, no, you can put this in the configuration file.
You can do even that. Yes, in the user OPTS,
Yeah.
of course. You can use the JWT token inside the user OPTS instead of the user and password and be authenticated to Composer with that credential. So it's just a way to have a different mode for authenticate.
Very common and useful case of OpenIP from the integrated system. Because if you don't have the nailed up behind, you cannot authenticate the command line with enhancements. Because the open entity provider will allow you only to check the session credential on their site before giving the token to the team. So for command line, you don't have any other option to use this. Because if you have the DWC federated with another provider, you don't have any user storage where you can check username and password.
But from a user audit perspective, if we were looking at security log files and audit files, we would see no change to the data that we're seeing there. Just see users logged in, we know which user it is, so on and so forth. So when we're doing a trace back for something that may have happened, we're still going to have no issue there. The key just is providing that extra security. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another couple of questions.
Question.
I'll read the question on the screen.
There is a question on my
Question from
Yeah, my question. It was the same question.
I can see the question.
What do the audit logs show when using JWT for actions? Will the entries show the real username?
Yeah, which is
That's a great
what
question.
my question. Yeah.
That's a good question. Yeah, the answer should be yes, because each API key is associated to that particular user unless you are using the service.
I think also the service.
Even the service will show you the username.
Someone.
Okay.
Can you cycle the token?
You have the difference inside the name that you will log it because you will add also, I think that is a service.
Can you cycle the token?
You can create one a new one. Yep. No
Yeah,
cycle.
if you lost it, if you close your notepad, you can create a new one.
No, it's just that with things like REST APIs,
You can have multiple tokens.
accessing REST APIs,
Mm-hmm.
the bearer token expires after a day, week, month.
You decide when, and you should give them a new token.
No,
So the cycle is give them a new token because the token is signed also. So
actually, there is also the chance to choose the expiration and yeah, we have few options that you can modify inside our TWS config file, maybe. Yeah, in where you can define the days, the expiration days, and how long should last any created API key. By the way, from here you can see the expiration type, the last usage, which is the user ID that I've created that, and so on. Just to let you see there, I'm not a liar. We can authenticate also to the REST APIs, and we can run any. Yes, it's the most simple one, and it will go with 500. Of course, no, it is going awesome.
200. You're lucky.
So from here with Workload Automation 10.1 Fixbox 1, you will see also the peer authentication. And now you know that you need to create an API key in order to be authenticated with that. But this is not the only reason why we have created the API keys. Another reason is that it is useful for using the new Oakley orchestration command line. I don't know how you want to call that. So, as Marco has mentioned at the beginning, this is something really great that we have added in this fixpack one. So we have created an external command line, so a brand new execution or a brand new executable file that is actually able to run remotely connecting to a server commands on the plan. So this will basically work just like command. Okay, it will remotely run commands on a server, and for the 10.1 fixpack 1 dynamic agent, you will find it already installed on each agent. That means that once you have installed a new fixpack 1 agent, you can run Oakley plus the syntax that we will see later and perform actions on your plan. You can do that directly from the VM where you have installed your dynamic agent, but if you want to do something more fancy, you can directly install the executable on your personal computer and run all those operations directly from it. So you, from your PC, can run commands pointing to your server and doing something on plan. The executable is available for multiple platforms, including macOS in both the architecture, available on Windows, on Unix, so all the platforms that actually can build by Go.
No question.
We have a question on that?
Composer as well as comment.
Oh, we have a lot of curiosity here, so I will not respond to that. I will go on with my presentation. So let's see which is the syntax. So as I said, Oakley can do operation on the plan. So command is equal to Oakley plan. Why we have choose this syntax is that Oakley, of course, is name of the executable, and plan it's the name of the component where we want to perform that operation. So in this case, we want to run something on plan, so it is Oakley plan. This means that in the future, of course, we will have maybe an Oakley model just to perform some operation directly on the database, just like the modeling. It can have a different name, but that will be exactly the same thing that Composer actually do. Composer will be equal to Oakley model or something like that. All the actions and all the options that are available on command are still available for Oakley. So we have actually maintained all the syntax almost for everything. Don't know if there is something slightly different, but maybe the logon.
There could be some.
Okay. By the way, the measure things.
Something. Yeah, I don't want for that.
Yeah, basically all the major operation maintains the same syntax. So it is equal to use command in a certain way. Let's do a little demo on that. I feel so brave today. So let's start from that. I have the Oakley installed on my PC. It's an executable of 8 megabytes. Once you run it for the first time, it will say that you do not have the permission to perform any operation on anywhere. That's because you have to configure the Oakley, of course, to point to some particular server. To do that, you will open this config file that will be automatically created once you will run the first Oakley command. This file will be automatically created under the user folder of the user that have run that command. And basically this contains, for you that unfortunately cannot see that, the host name of the server that you want to point with its port, the context root, which is this one, it's TWS/clean, just for for connecting to the endpoint that will be able to run the CLI. the protocol, which can be HTTP or HTTPS, some other operation for configuring a proxy if you want one, and then a JWT parameter where you have to, of course, paste an API key that you have created before. It can be both personal or a service API key. So this is another way to use them to authenticate to the command line, to the remote command line. Let's see if this actually works. So I will try to run some commands. So I can use the same syntax that I use for command, Oakley plan sc for show CPUs. And I will get the output, which is all the CPUs that I have on my environment. I can run Oakley plan show schedule to see which are the job streams that have been submitted. And I have something. The same, of course, can be done for the jobs. Oakley plan show jobs. And I can even submit something. SPS, I don't remember the workstation. I remember the name, which is job stream. And this will submit a new job stream. So we are basically maintaining the same syntax. So all the thing that you can do on command can be done from the Oakley. We will, progressively, we will add all the options, of course, because for the first release, we only permit to do operation on plan with command. With almost all the actions. If we will have some
jobs
yes, on jobs and jobs. Yes.
We don't support the resources.
The prompts and all the other resources that we have on plan are now not supported for the Fixpack one. So for now, you will only use that for performing operation on jobs and job streams. But that is something good to have.
That all the time that you see are the time zone of your laptop or your machine. It will be reported during time zone. We will have an option in the future to add also all the behavior that is the time zone, the time expressed, the time zone locate to the
single
on the single
workstation
jobs. Possibly. Sadly, everything is exposed in your time zone. It's good and bad, it depends. It's different from the past. Don't know if you have a station different time zone. No? It's the same for you.
Yeah,
It's better to keep it simple.
yeah.
So it's
Question?
Is there a question about
Yeah,
the Euclid?
Couple on there, a couple on there.
I don't
More than one.
see the
I'm gonna chat this.
Then only for command command. If we expand to use composer key commands.
Yeah, like we said that.
Yeah. So if it's plan and model, does that mean it uses the REST API to actually make all the calls?
Fun.
So
We are using REST API.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Different
the
one.
different one.
Mhm.
Because in the Swagger UI, that's where you
Yeah,
set
there are
the-
there will be in this order.
yeah.
There
That's,
will-
that's where you set all the opman settings. So if it's going to be in
It
hopefully
will
model.
be easy to integrate a lot.
I see one
There are
question from Nigel.
JWT by 4. With a password, the system might force a refresh every X days. And so if that it was compromised, it's only an issue for X days. But if someone gets your token, they could use it as much longer as this present a serious risk can block use. Okay.
if you want.
If you like.
No, it's okay.
Okay. I don't know if you hear me. Better to.
Okay, I will answer this. The JWT will be valid for a time that you could choose. Also, the maximum time allowed, I think that is configurable. No? Currently,
it's only a long term token.
there is a long, the sister account could be indefinitely, okay? A personal one.
We're talking about JWT or API.
API key,
No, the API keys can be customizable.
exactly. The API key are customizable. If you are talking about the API keys for the user that are personal, the expiration date, the maximum time of expiration is configurable. So you can decide at system level how much is the max time that are allowed. So if you need the user to rotate them every 6 months, you can put that.
Be controlled by the roles as well.
No.
If I've got a scheduler, someone allocating
No, but if you need for integration,
task,
but
that'd be the time.
if you need them for integration, for pipelines, batch system in the background, you can create a service account. It's something that you know where you put, and if you decompromise the machine, you can revoke it because it's different. So it's at IT level, okay? The system account is for something that is used in a controlled manner, okay? You can also give users the privileges to create only personal, okay, or system account. So you can control who can create API keys personal and system account. And also you can avoid any API key to be created for some user.
Distribute the role that you want.
You can delegate this kind of privileges to people that you want. So normal user could even not create any personal or system.
Yeah, so
Not only the administrator could see, there is a role for it that could see all the API keys of all the user, or also with the time, and he can wish he can delete it. So he can control if there is something wrong and delete and ask for regeneration. You can filter by name, by creation date.
I think about is whether we can revoke them that control it. I think they're important about pain in the ass. That control in a minute. Wondering whether we've got under the keys we can ability to that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another question is, will the Oakley command be available on-premise traditional VM Linux server dynamic agents?
The answer is
Or this
yes.
only used in containers?
No.
No.
The Oakley, it's not only available for containers, it is available on all the installation of the dynamic agents. I think only on HP agents it's not available.
On
HP.
Ah,
Because the Oakley is actually written in Go,
it's
and
not
Go is
compatible.
not able to build on HP agents. But if you, of course, have some HP agents and you want get the best from the Oakley, you can just deploy the Oakley on your own laptop. So you do not have any problem on that. So you are totally welcome. Any other question, or we can go? Okay, for now we can go.
Yeah.
So, no, that's too much. Okay, let's move to the self-service catalog. Okay. So, ancora. No, I'm okay. So, what is the self-service catalog? It's a mobile-oriented interface that we have released just to submit on-demand business flows. It's something that we have already on all our version of Workload Automation, but we have just decided to improve it. And let's see how we do that. So, actually, what you can do with the service catalog, imagine that you have, of course, your schedulers that are workload automation experts, so they know exactly how the product works. They can create jobs, job streams, any kind of object on the database. They knows how the product works. But on the other hand, you have also the business users, which has low experience on workload automation, but unfortunately, they need to do something. For example, submitting some services, some jobs, even if they have no idea of what is a job. Well, this can be done through the self-service catalog. Let's see how. I will explain that with a practical example. So, suppose that we have Alice, which is a manager, and every time a new hire just comes in her organization, she needs to perform a lot of operation, okay, a long list of actions. For example, a temporary badge activation, the site access clearance, the creation of the new ID, the assignment of the laptop. So all those stuffs that are quite boring, that are a lot of operations that can be maybe automized if there is a way to do that. So what actually Alice wants is to perform always those same operation, but just using one click and a couple of inputs. So she just wants a way to perform all those boring action in a simple way. And she has no idea of what is workload automation. But she's really lucky because there is Mark, and you can see from the smile on his face that it's a workload automation expert.
You can't be smiling.
Yeah, I can.
He's pretending.
And since he knows how this new self-service catalog works, he can actually resolve all the Alice problem by creating new job stream definition and flagging them as service. Let's see how can Mark work. So with the new self-service catalog, you can directly from the new workload designer create basically a job stream. Okay, so the same thing that you are actually doing when you create a new job stream can be done with the self-service catalog. But in addition, you have the chance to publish this job stream as a service just by flagging it here. You will see that there is a brand new option under the job stream. Under the jobs, there is self-service. So this contains all the options that are available for self-service catalog. We will see them maybe in the demo. And just by creating this simple job stream, you can add all the jobs that are required for achieving their particular purposes. Then what actually Alice will see inside the new self-service catalog dashboard, which is a mobile-oriented application, is just that particular service. So imagine you have a tons of job stream, you have two job stream flagged as service. Alice will only see those two job streams. Those two job streams are needed for achieving Alice purposes. So since she has no idea of what actually is needed to, for example, create a new ID or create a new email address, she just needs to insert the name of the employee, the email address that she wants to give to the employee, and then submit that service. And this is actually what Alice will do. So she can click on the service that have been created by Mark, fill up all those fields with few information needed. So the name of the employee, the laptop ID in this case, which kind of laptop it is, and submit that and monitor the status of this submission. Actually, this is nothing else than a job stream submission, but performed by a person that has no idea of how workload automation works, of how a submission can be done on a doc submission, a job stream submission. She has no idea what is a job stream. So this is something that she can still do through workload automation, even if she is not an expert. As I said, the application is also mobile. So that means that you can even use that from your phone. So you can take with you workload automation wherever you want. In any case, you are, I don't know, in a wedding, you are bored, you can submit jobs from your mobile. And this is something that it's awesome to do.
At a funeral.
Yeah. It's the dream of all of us. Oh, before to talk to that, let's see better what I just mean. Let me just move this. There it's okay. So I am in the new workload designer trying to create a new job stream. I have already done it during this morning. This is a really simple job stream with one jobs that actually do something. And in the new self-service catalog menu, I can click that. I can decide to publish this job stream as a service. That means that who will access to the self-service catalog dashboard will see this job stream published as a service. Simple. You can give the name of a service, set a description, put tags that can be helpful when you want to search that particular jobs service by category. You can add the support contact of the people, the demand that I've created that particular service. So if you see that that service is not working, you can contact it. And then you can use and set some variables. We have different kind of variables. We will see how they works later. We can actually put strings, integer, double, checkbox, select, and other radio groups, other different variables. All those variables can be used for submitting jobs. What I mean is that, let's see, I have created one which is different by the others. It's this one. That means that with the same exactly syntax of that you use for the variable table, I think I put the same. Well, let me pick up another one. With the same syntax that you use for with the variable tables, okay? Oh, and that's why I have to open a job, sorry. You can actually resolve all the variables that you are setting inside this service at runtime. And this is something great. Let me just pick up a job definition that I have created. Okay, this one. Edit. For example, in this job stream that I have called JS service, I have a couple of variables, which is the name of the employee, the second name of the employee plus the email. Okay. This is the name of the variable that you want to use. So this is exactly the name that you can provide to the job as variable, and this variable will be resolved with the inputs that the user from the self-service catalog is actually inserting. Let's see, for example, how I have built this job. Okay. This will actually do an echo of this, the ID of the variable name and variable name2, which is the second name, has been created. Okay. What that means is that when I will submit this service, I will insert name and second name of my employee. And the job that is linked to that service will use the inputs that I provided inside the service request and will resolve that at runtime. So it will actually print echo, it will print that the ID of Jeff and its second name has been created. So it will resolve those variables. Maybe this is more simple to see later than explain that. So I have created 4 different services. So 4 job stream. I have flagged them as services, and these are actually the action that Alice in the example may do. For example, there is the ID creation, the laptop assignment, payroll system, and this one. When someone just click on a service, can see which are the parameters needed for submitting this service. And each of these parameters is one of the variables that we have set before in the job stream. So those ones. So name1, name2, and email are actually the variables that I have set. You can define if they are required for the submission of the services or not. In this case, the name, first name and second name are variables that for me are required, so I have flagged them as required. So that means that someone can actually fill that. And submit this service. Once the service has been submitted, we can monitor the execution of that, but not in terms of an operator, not like an operator may do. So checking its status, its internal status, the job log. We are not expert of workload automation, so we don't care. And we can see that the ID creation services has been submitted and it is successful. So what I actually do as a user not expert of workload automation is that, okay, I have created the ID for this person and this operation has been completed successful. So I am okay, I have done my task. You have different way to insert variables. So you have string, we have radio buttons, you have integer or double. You can set minimum and maximum values to all those fields that are linked to numbers. So you can not go under a certain value that you have set. For example, this. Here I have set an input that should be bigger than 1000. So if I set 500, there is a check that says, no, you cannot do that. And the same thing can be done for the maximum amount. So all those variables can be actually resolved. So if the user will set this one, it will trigger the variable called variable1, for example, and it will use the input that the user has just provided. So in this case, it is Bank of Metallica. I don't know if you see that. And that value will be passed to the job at execution time. So the value that the user has used. Okay. I don't know if
So this is far more powerful than the self-service catalog that's available today. Certainly the customers that I know that have trialed the current self-service catalog have said that it's very limited in what it can do. The most common scenario is somebody being able to submit a report,
Yeah.
and see that happening, but that still relies on them logging into IWS in order to do that. So with this method, can we embed it into another application? So that scenario with the HR one with emails being created, the fact that you're calling direct URLs, that means it can be embedded into another application. Can you then pass
I
authentication?
don't think that we can embed our DWC inside any third-party application.
No, but
Okay.
from the self-service catalog, you're calling a URL.
Different application.
I don't know because it just belongs to. No, I don't know.
Embed.
No, I don't know if we can embed.
But you need an reference. The best way is to use an ID. That way, the token is passed directly to the IWC self-service catalog, and you can log in directly. But you
Okay.
should need some privileges group at least to run jobs to launch the self-service catalog.
Okay.
The problem with the security, because you will see as a service something where your security match that you can launch. So you have the privilege to run the jobs inside that folder, for example. You will see the jobs that could run in that folder, for
Okay.
example. Okay. So you should configure some groups correctly into the security file of the master.
Right. But if you embed it, will you not have any sort of cross-site issues?
You should have something inside the group of the operating token, probably, because the best way is to have a single sign solution. No?
Yeah.
So this user doesn't have access to the AWC, some reason, okay? But as a group, he belongs, has the right to launch the payroll system folder. They
Okay.
can launch
Service JWT token.
exactly.
Yeah.
The customer's profile that you've seen using it, what were they using it for? Give an idea, an example of what kind of actions they were taking through that service.
Well, the simplest one is, if you're running SAP and somebody submits a report, a large report, it can slow down the application. So you take that out, schedule it, so that the application continues running without any performance hit, and then when it becomes free, it schedules the report to be run. And then the business user is notified, A, it's submitted, B, it's running, C, it's completed, and then they can get the report.
So I can see it where I can see that for me, I can see the benefit if you've got exactly an example like that where you've got a predefined query or something like that they can pull out and there's no read write, no write capabilities there. My concern is that if I was to put it in front of customers, the first thing they were saying was where's the change control around it. So we give people access to a self-service catalog, but there's an action being taken. There will be a requirement to say, well, where's the evidence of the request or the evidence of the change that would allow them the authority to do that.
Marco told this about this morning.
Yeah.
The requirements written plan to add some approval requests.
Yeah, so the service now integration we have now would make a great sense.
Yes.
You have ServiceNow automatically designed into the product. If you're a ServiceNow user, obviously, having that integration and that authority being evidenced would be.
There are for sure some scenarios that something needed or mandatory. Okay. There are also scenarios where you don't need to run a report on the approval.
Because I can see this being really useful internally, even with my tooling team, sake of argument, with IWS engineers that are creating functions that they've got to run a report to do even licensing, pulling up the licensing numbers, or they're having to run a fix, or we've been talking about earlier, restarting app server on DWCs because it keeps crashing on us. We create solutions to fix that. I can see internally my engineer going, well, actually, I'll create a service in the self-care catalog. So if we see that, I know I can tell the Ops Bridge engineer, just run that service and that will restart your thing, or run this or that, and it will do this. I can see that being used.
For IT something more controlled.
Yeah.
Audited is needed for sure.
Yeah.
You want to do, okay, do you want to restart the service? Okay, I will give you the service catalog. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's not possible for IT. I know. For sure, in the future, there will be a request and approval of the request
Okay. Yeah.
scenario. So you can also probably integrate it with.
But this is where it comes embedding it into another application,
Yeah.
like ServiceNow.
Exactly.
So you go through a ServiceNow workflow, and the execution of the generating
Yeah, I mean,
email or
I
people
could,
or whatever it is
we're trying to do,
comes from GWS.
yeah, we're trying to do things like improve our server decommissioning activity and stuff like that. And I can see possibilities of having that process scripted and automated, which everyone wants to have done. And it looks like a possibility that you could do that. And the Unix team or Windows team would provide the information to remove the LU points and the other bits and pieces for storage, etc. And you could script it within a service and then push that out and say, okay, on this date, we're actually now blowing that server away, get IWS shed it. And that would be really, really positive. And I think that would be quite attractive to some of the teams. It's just that overlying change control that would put me off. So I'd play with it. I wouldn't give it to anyone at the moment.
Change requirements. It's not.
Yeah.
But that self-service screen,
Mhm.
how customizable is that?
It is not customizable, but I mean, you will have all the service list in this way, but you have on the left side this checkbox catalog tags in which you can select one or more tags by time, just to have only the service that you want to, that actually you need.
And would that be accessible, say, if we're using LDAP for authentication, you've got a browse user, scheduler, and operator, we could say that a browse user can see these tags and that's it? Or would they see everything? Would everyone see everything?
No. The security is based on the
Engine security.
Yeah.
So the user should be recognized from the master in some way as a user that can launch the job.
This is done through the
job.
single sign-on, because the self-service catalog is only available with single sign-on configured.
Single sign-on, okay,
Yeah.
fine.
So the user that access to the UI will actually have the same, it will be reflected on the security that he has on engine side. So only if you have access to submit job streams, list and view.
Job stream, and only you will see only the object that are flagged as a service for the service catalog. Okay, and then you can submit.
Yeah.
So you should do that both the condition.
Yeah, of course, if you have no permission on a particular folder, you will only see, for example, the services that have been defined on that folder. So you, outside your security domain, you cannot see any services.
Okay.
So you can divide by using the folder, the various corporations, for example, HR can only see services that are inside this folder. The IT can only see services defined here, and so on. So this is all demanded to the server security. There is another thing that I could say about the self-service catalog, but actually I just forgot it.
Well, I can see it being beneficial, especially if you're say like using Ansible automation to deploy servers and stuff like that.
Yes,
having that integration, having that API already there, using something like this to drive that, and that makes some sense. There's some sense to that. Yeah, interesting.
Another thing is that the user, of course, we are supposing that user just only if you have mobile permission on the web UI, you can see self-service catalog. So that means that a user can only have mobile application, mobile role.
Right.
So actually you cannot see anything on the DWC, especially the engine that are configured behind that DWC, and all the engines that are actually configured. So for all the engine connection, you will see all the service linked to all those engines. So the user from the self-service catalog does not know on which of the engine that services belongs. So you can have multiple engine with multiple services, and the user of the self-service catalog can submit the service that he needs. no matter on which engine that will be submitted.
It's valid also for mainframe.
Yes, all the self-service catalog is for both
Right.
distributed and ZOS.
So what's the benefit of having using the self-service catalog over the likes of like Blue Prism, something like a bit more of an RPA driven? Because that to me sort of sounds like a workload automation equivalent to an automatic process that you
On
try
the
and
Blue
build with
Prism.
Because you are thinking only to IT. This is not only for IT, but also for different processes.
Mm.
Okay, so can apply this to everything you can delegate for business user from our generator report, like we are.
Can be an example. Yeah.
I have not a sub report, but a business object report that took so 1 hour, for example.
Yeah.
I would thank you. As a business user, I don't know how to call that server, which is the report, I need this. After 1 hour, it will ask to tell me, okay, you can download it from this machine. I don't know either that it's a business object. For me, it's a report that will be published. But
Somewhere.
different machine, behind there is a process that will extract the data, will load the data on the business object, will extract the query, generate the report, extract the file, publish on the machine. Everything is totally transparent to the business user. I only ask a report. And we will get after an hour of that machine with a mail that sends me, okay, so everything goes well, and reports there. Otherwise, you can do something like we are saying before. That's about create that infrastructure for this project. It's valid only for 1 month. After 1 month, destroy it.
Yeah, you can set all those
So it depends on the business
parameters as variables.
users needs on what you are automating that moment.
Okay.
It's kind of-
it's
it
a
feels-
way to expose to someone else services with some parameters that are very close, and then you can choose what they can do.
It's very much feel. I kind of feel that you're effectively trying to say, look, you've got all these tools out there that can do all these fantastic things, but actually you all do them all in isolation. You know, at the moment, if we do ServiceNow, we'll go to Ansible team and go, right, you need to go do this, and it's in ServiceNow. And they do a task. You might have it done in the day, or it might be done in a 5-week time, or whatever it is, and then you move on to the next one, and there's no visibility, or you're raising multiple changes. It does. As long as we have the integration on the tools, it does make sense to be able to use a scheduler to do that. I can see the value behind it, and it gives a framework to that automation, regardless of what the actual to the scheduling of the automation rather than the automation in itself. Yeah, it's interesting. Something we can discuss.
Okay, the last thing that I want to say is that, of course, if you are planning to move to 10.1 Fixpack 1, but you don't want to configure a particular engine as a self-service catalog engine, you can just in the engine connection properties flag this off. So in this way, the user will not see the services associated to that particular engine. So this is something that we can say about that. I will close just reminding you that there is the Transparent Development Program. So this is an event that we took periodically, where we actually share with all our participants the new features that we are going to release. So something that I have shown you today have been already seen during those transparent development. Of course, doing that here, it's quite more good to do. But if you are interested in actually knows what happens on workload automation, you can just join this event. Just send us an email to transparent.dev at hcl.com. And so periodically you will be invited to those sessions where we will show you the brand new features that we are planning to introduce with the new version. Okay, and then that was it.